You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Before history is written, it's played. Before it's frozen in time, it's fought one shift at a time. Before it's etched in silver, it's carved in ice. What happens next will last forever. The Stanley Cup Final on ABC and ESPN Plus begins Saturday.
Now's a good time to remember where the story of tequila started. In 1795, the first tequila distillery was opened by the Cuervo family. And 229 years later, Cuervo is still going strong. Family owned from the start, same family, same land. Now's a good time to enjoy Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. Go to Cuervo.com to shop tequila or visit a store near you. Cuervo, now's a good time. Trademarks owned by Becle, SAB the CV. Copyright 2024. Proximo. Jersey City, New Jersey. Please drink responsibly.
I have had a perpetual grin on my face for about 4 or 5 days thinking of Greg Cody feuding with Canada.
Oh God.
Winning so far.
Oh, God, crushing.
I really cannot imagine how infuriating it is for Canada to have the last 5 years of the state of Florida in hockey. Like just enraging. You invented the sport. It's super important to you. I basically was introduced to hockey through the Edmonton Oilers. who haven't been this
Mid-80s.
who haven't been this good since Gretzky. And then Greg Cody waddles over, and I swear to you, before this series, if Connor McDavid had walked into his home in uniform and all you took off the jersey was his name off the back, just made it 97, walked in, I am sure Greg Cody would not have recognized Connor McDavid and been able to name him.
He'd call the cops. I mean,
He would. He doesn't.
He has skates on. I have him walking on into my dad's house with skates on.
Yes, and I have him discovering in this series, holy shit, McDavid is big and faster than everybody.
Well, that entire team is fast. They're 2 miles per hour faster than the Panthers coming into the season.
score a goal. I mean,
That is, I have never said what I'm about to say, which is wholly ridiculous. I have never felt less good about a 3-0 Stanley Cup final victory than watching that team on the power play cave in your defense and get shots closer than everybody else does to the net.
I think Sergei Bobrovsky made 13 high danger saves in that game.
Really?
13 high danger saves. So
HDs.
all the pucks were near the net.
That is a good stat.
it's a great stat. Yeah.
High danger is what it is.
I mean, the rest were low danger?
Medium danger, low danger. Yes.
Huh. Like it.
The Edmonton Oilers in that game, I thought, somehow lost 3-0 to one of the worst playoff games the Panthers have played this season.
A great sign, I think. I agree with you. It's a good sign for the Panthers.
I don't know if that's a good sign. I don't think it's...
You seem terrified,
I
man.
mean, look, that team offensively can score 7 goals very easily.
Yeah.
Like they can...
Right.
And Bobrovsky's got a couple... He's only had 3 playoff shutouts ever, correct? He's got 2 of them this postseason, and it was fantastic in that game. But you can't... You think that's sustainable, Roy?
No, absolutely not.
But the Oilers have been more inconsistent than the Panthers. Like what we saw from the Oilers in Game 1, they haven't proven that they can do that every game in the playoffs. Like that was a good game for them. That's why it's so disappointing for them.
Yeah,
they actually played really well.
They should have won 6-2 last night, the night before. So yes, but the Panthers are going to play better. This is definitely going to be the worst. Game 1's the worst game of this series.
Hopefully.
There's no way to.
That is correct, Billy. There is no way to know that. I don't know why Roy said it so
Hopefully. I added
resolutely.
in what he meant. Hopefully.
No, but he said it.
You have to think.
Do you? So you think you have to think that they're going to play a lot better than the one game they won 3-0 that represents the first time we've ever had a good feeling in the Stanley Cup final?
Yeah.
This is the first time in 30 years that South Florida feels good in a Stanley Cup final.
So don't ruin it, okay?
Right.
Let us have this.
I mean, It seems like you think Edmonton's going to win the series.
I'm just
I
saying.
don't want to shove words in your mouth, but
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the way that game played out, that is the best case scenario for the Panthers is to win that game when they played that poorly by 3 goals. It makes no sense.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Today's episode is sponsored by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
We will get to the hockey in a second, Stugotz, but I am legitimately torn by what it is that's going on with the Celtics because it's allowed to be unsatisfying, right? To watch it outside of Boston, anybody watching what is happening with the Celtics, steamrolling everybody. At any other point in history, we would be looking at a basketball team and saying, good God, one of the all-time greats, being able to lose only twice and steamrolling everybody in games that are not close.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, the way this has gone, I don't think anyone's changed their minds about what Mazzulla is as a coach. I don't think anyone is terribly impressed with what Jayson Tatum has put together.
I mean, they're 2 games away from winning a title.
I know.
I mean,
and history only remembers the championship was won. But, Stugotz, I will say the way that things become memorable, whether it's storylines or close games, is you have a series of moments that you remember. You have you have greatness tested. You've proved to us, Jayson Tatum, that the stat line that you have isn't going to pale compared to Drew Holiday's stat line. Drew Holiday is 38 points, 19 rebounds, 8 assists, no turnovers. That's Drew Holiday.
Crazy.
They got Drew Holiday to help Jayson Tatum, not to win it for him. They got rid of Marcus Smart and put people in place to help lift Jayson Tatum, and now you're in a situation where what you're watching from Jayson Tatum is just unsatisfying.
In fairness to Jayson Tatum, he is doing a lot of the things that we have asked him to do. Now, it's not up to him whether or not he gets those situations late in the game, but he is going to the rim an awful lot, and he is creating opportunities for his teammates. He had the assists last night. He had the rebounds. He had, by anyone's measure, that would be considered, Dan, okay, a really good, very good playoff game. He's having a good series. Fortunately for Jayson Tatum, he's on a team where he doesn't have to be the best guy every single night.
Oh, but Stugotz, the way that this is going to end up playing out, which I think is going to disorient people, is this team is built for what the modern sport has become. Defend the 3. Dallas shoots 20% from 3. Kyrie Irving hasn't made a 3 in the series. You defend the 3 well, and you shoot the 3 well, but not in this game, because to have both teams shoot 25% or under, Stugotz,
yep.
You're watching bad basketball. You're watching a lot of missed shots. Nobody wants to celebrate defensive basketball, but what these Celtics are the evolution of the sport. Nobody wants to talk about architecture this time of year, Stugotz. They want to talk about story and drama and were you better than the other guy in big moments.
But with this team, it's a part of it. The way the team was built is certainly a part of the story.
It's not a part of it. It's the story.
Okay, so it's part of the story. It's a big part of the story.
I know, but
Brad Stevens deserves credit for the way he built this team.
Agreed, Stugotz, but it's not why anybody watches.
Right.
That's not agreed. Brad Stevens, congratulations.
Yep.
You want to make an executive the reason that you're watching the finals?
We did talk about that last week, that it'd be funny if he became the first ever executive to win MVP of the series.
Didn't Bob Myers steal that last night?
Yeah, Bob Myers stole Stugotz's take.
Yeah.
To make him finals MVP because they're putting the Celtics in a position where the pieces that they got, that show, incidentally, is getting crushed. The halftime show and the postgame show for ESPN just getting annihilated because all people are realizing now, oh, wait, it just exists for 7 seconds at a time between commercials. There's no show there. It's getting crushed.
Couldn't believe my eyes and ears when I saw an NBA Finals postgame anchored by Bob Myers, Michael Wilbon, and Josh Hart. Now, all respectively in their own industries, nice careers. If we're going to have an active player there, I would love one with finals experience. I would love anybody really with finals experience. I know Bob Myers was an executive there, but he's out there an executive caping up for executives, and you have Mike Wilbon essentially being your quarterback. We've done this for 25 years where there's a revolving door with Mike Wilbon, and he's just flatly telling you, I don't believe in stats. It's just not – I don't know how anyone over at the NBA is happy with this.
They're probably not, though, right? We're going to probably see what we see every year. They'll shake it up, get a new crew, and see if they can find
But they'll shake it up, and Michael Wilbon will always end up being there.
Right.
Like they've been unhappy reportedly with ESPN's NBA coverage for the majority of the time ESPN has had the contract, and yet we still see some of the same players. And if it's not one executive, it's another. It's just they keep expecting different results.
Mike is right. The one constant throughout time is Michael Wilbon.
The situation that you find yourself in when Stephen A. Smith is working as much as he is that he's got to get out of there, I assume, to either drive or take a private flight to First Take in the morning.
Right, which is weird because First Take's a priority. And that shows you everything. No, I would think it's on Network ABC. The priority here is the NBA Finals postgame show. No?
Well, let's rewind for a second because I thought of Billy Saturday night.
Is it the post-game show, SVP on SportsCenter? I mean, that's what it's become, right?
Usually they replace whatever is happening in the postgame. They just let Scott Van Pelt handle it because he does an exceptional job. But I was thinking about Billy on Saturday night because as the Panthers are playing a Stanley Cup final game, you get the rare Marlins regular season nationally televised game on Fox. They quickly lose 8-0 to the Guardians while the Panthers are playing in the Stanley Cup final. Billy, is that the game that you were checked in on? Were you watching the Marlins and the Guardians as the Panthers played in the first Stanley Cup final game?
No, I was watching the Ice Cats, as is done during the Stanley Cup finals. That's what you do. Mm-hmm. I'll check back in on the Marlins after the Cup final's done. I've been very consistent on this. I said when we get to the Stanley Cup final, I will be locked in. I will be there. Now, people play defense against me to prevent me from getting a credential. That's perfectly fine.
Right.
The Ice Cats are rallying around behind me, and they're going to win it on my behalf, and I appreciate them for that. I will say this. What?
Explain to me what happened with you and the credential. I wasn't here last week, so I don't know how the
There was some gatekeeping around these parts to keep old Billy away from the Stanley Cup final, which is fine. If that's the way people want to handle this situation, that's fine. I will not be covering the Stanley Cup in person, but I still will be doing so from the comforts of my own home because I'm not going to give up on this team just because people are trying to keep me away from it. Not going to happen.
What's the problem? Was it that Meadowlark asked for too many credentials and David Dwork was in front of you in line? What happened?
He
got fired at Dworky over here. Jeez, unnecessary.
Well, I just said his name.
He got his credential through the Hockey News, not through us.
How many credentials did Meadowlark request? Did Billy? So Billy got knocked out. You can't get into the arena.
Correct. I'm not as a member of the credentialed media, which is fine.
I saw Stunt Dan was there.
Listen.
If you want to work the camera.
I've been told things we don't need to get to. I've been told things, but I believe defense has been played against me to get me to the Stanley Cup final.
I actively played defense against Billy to get into the Stanley Cup final. After
not naming names.
After all the official parameters were explored in terms of applying for a credential, people knowing that I have a good relationship over with the Florida Panthers were like, hey, do you mind asking a favor so Billy can go over there and shit over the entire experience? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'd rather maintain my good relationship than have Billy make fun of them directly to their faces.
Cool if Billy sarcastically covers this Panthers series?
Yeah, no thanks.
I happen to think that I'd be growing the Panthers fan base. I would say the people that follow me aren't necessarily the biggest hockey fans.
You tell them.
And I would be introducing them to a great team and a great story. But if they're not interested in growing their fan base, then that's perfectly fine. That's their prerogative.
Okay.
Not on me. I'm just trying to do my part. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah, your part. Okay.
Help out the team. Yep. I'm not going to tell the Oilers you got to go high on Bob. I'm not going to tell them that. Mm-hmm. They can figure that out on their own.
Sure. All right, this is what happened. Okay?
Prolific offense.
All right, so the credential window opened early May.
Love a good window. Yeah.
Hogwash. That was never relayed to anyone around these parts, I'll just say.
I applied for myself, Rose, and Danny. Rose and Danny being the camera people, Danny being the backup.
Behind the scenes of the hockey show.
So that's what happened.
Important.
The window closed May 30th.
Mm-hmm.
Billy asked June 3rd.
Let's open that window
Right.
back up. Let's just.
But Billy has stated all along he will not focus on hockey until they make it to the Stanley Cup.
If anything, I announced that months ago.
Yes.
So
Okay.
I think someone should have put a pin in that, but that's fine.
I'm really thinking about you when I'm.
I think
applying for
about when
credentials.
I think hockey, I think about you. So I don't know why it's not mutual.
Right.
I was playing a game earlier, guys, and I'm wondering if you guys want to play this. Roy did
Let's
not
play.
want to play this game. Here is the game. It's how long of a ban would Roy accept from covering the Panthers in exchange for illegally drinking out of the Stanley Cup on the night that they win it?
Wow.
Like, I
So
would go
they
to
win.
jail.
They win the cup, and Roy goes over and he just takes a chug out of the Stanley Cup to celebrate. Because Roy, I'll admit this. Roy has been following this team longer than I have, and he cares slightly more than I do about this team. I will admit that. I'm not here to kind of spread falsehoods.
Yeah, that's great.
So I said, Roy, if they win, you got to take a chug out of that cup that night. He's like, no. And I'm like, well, what if they invite you to? He's like, well, then I'll do it. I'm like, no, but what if they don't invite you to? You got to do it. Their first Stanley Cup, you got to do it. I was like, would you, like, in exchange for a lifetime ban? And he's like, absolutely.
What
not.
about regular season? Next year's regular season, you can't cover a single game.
regular season games?
He wouldn't even do that.
Roy.
I said a 2-year ban. He said no. I said 1 year. He said no. He won't do it.
So that means I can't be at the arena during the home opener when they raise that banner.
Yeah,
you
can't be there to raise a banner, but you're there chugging out of the cup the night that they win. Like that's
Right.
a lot cooler than the banner's going to be up in the rafters forever.
No.
You can see the banners whenever.
Roy, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity
Exactly.
to chug beer out of the Stanley Cup. Who cares about a banner?
Yeah, but I care about a ban. I'm not going to get banned from covering this team
year.
this week.
Just
He wants
for
that
a
picture
season.
up there.
Just
Billy's
for regular
already
season.
banned.
Exactly right. I was banned.
I didn't ban you.
I got to
League
tell
did.
you, I was banned, and it's not that big a deal. Because if they came back now and they're like, you want to come? I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Okay.
I got what I wanted out of this exchange.
We were
Sure.
very lucky today that a motivated Billy showed up and he said that he had a single takeaway from Game 2 of the
NBA final. Yeah.
And of
I'm
the
covering
NBA
all the
finals.
championships from
Yes.
afar.
Yeah.
They also didn't credential me, but I didn't ask.
You have Meadowlark had a whole bunch of people credentialed at that uninteresting game, but Billy, you have a single takeaway for us off of Game 2?
Yeah, defense wins championships.
Thank you, Billy. I appreciate
Right.
Derek
you
White
giving
block. I mean,
Yeah.
he goes up there.
I mean,
blocks PJ Washington. Maybe a foul. Maybe a foul on Jaylen Brown. That's for others to
Might
say.
be 2 fouls on that
That's
one.
for others to say, not me. But that block, I mean, you see, it's a 5-point game at that point. That dunk makes it a 2-point game. If they call a foul, it's a 3-point. Sorry, that dunk makes it a 3-point game. If they call a foul, it's a 2-point game. Instead, it's a block. Defense wins championships. Goes the other way, 7 points. That's a big swing, Dan. That's a 5-point swing by my math.
That sequence there was
Watching
pretty.
sports.
That sequence right there was pretty indicative of how you watch this through the prism of a hater, because I am absolutely a Celtics hater. And I think the most disappointing part about this is I still don't trust that team if they're going up against a team that has guts or maybe a healthy superstar, right?
Oh, I don't want to hear it, Mike.
And it's just like you could see the Celtics team like they're dying for someone to take this from them, and Josh Green isn't going to do it.
I don't want to hear about Luka and how hurt Luka is. He had 32 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists. He was efficient last night. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it because I'm going to spend the next 3 days, and why am I waiting 3 days for Game 3? Like what? Give me a Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Give me something.
It's like they have to travel by carriage or something. They're in a plane. They're there the next day. What are we waiting for?
I don't want to spend the next 3 days hearing about his knee, hearing about his shoulder, hearing about his elbow. He's out there. He's playing 40-plus minutes. His teammates are giving him nothing. I am so tired of hearing about how injured Luka is.
All
And
right.
by the way, play some defense. Close out on somebody. Close out on anybody.
The Dan Batard Show with Stugotz is sponsored by BetterHelp. This year has gone by so quickly. Reaching the halfway point of the year is an excellent time to reflect on your mental health journey, assess your progress, and make plans for the future. Ask yourself, what's something you're proud of in 2024 so far? What's something you still want to accomplish this year? When life goes fast, it's important to take a moment to celebrate your wins and adjust what doesn't currently work for the rest of the year. Therapy can help you take stock of your progress and set achievable goals for the next 6 months. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Reflecting on the first half of the year and planning for the next can help you stay proactive about your mental health. By celebrating your progress, setting new goals, and enhancing your support systems, you can continue to foster your well-being and resilience. Take a moment. Visit BetterHelp.com/DLB today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/DLB.
Dan Le Batard.
Yeah, enjoy a long and fruitful run, Dan.
What was that voice?
A Celtics fan.
That was a Celtics fan?
Well, it was me.
Stugotz.
It's amazing. It's amazing to see the mask pulled off and to see you so clearly. You were in such good disguise, and I didn't know it was you. But then
It's me, a Celtics fan.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
let me tackle a couple of things here. First of all, the Dallas Mavericks are the first team since the 2010 Lakers to beat 350-win teams to get to this. I'd prefer to see Denver playing against the Celtics. The Celtics' gift is that they have the best starting lineup in the league, but I think Denver is right there with them on starting lineup. And so you haven't even seen the Derek White game yet. It is very possible, weirdly, that the Celtics could win the championship by blowout without Tatum doing much of anything that makes you remember what he did in the finals. He will have plenty of time to be an all-time great. It is possible that this series will not help him there. The Celtics, Stugotz, I don't know if you know this, but this was fairly stunning to me. The Celtics, outside of the Heat from 2010 or 2013, both of those Heat teams in the East were favored. The Celtics are favored. You will find no other favorite in the East since Michael Jordan. Since Michael Jordan, the West is always favored, and this Celtics team has been, this entire season, crushing everybody and should be remembered as an all-time great team if they win this championship over the Mavs.
What was the stat that you said that they beat 350-win teams to get here?
That since 2010 Lakers, they're the first team to win 350-win teams. They beat 350-win teams.
Indiana wasn't a 50-win team.
No, the Mavs.
Oh, the Mavs.
The Mavs.
Oh, the Mavs. Okay.
Yes.
That had never happened before, but that hadn't happened in the last 15 years.
How did they do that? I'm asking as someone that's just like watched the majority of this stuff on mute because I'm watching this Dallas team. Right, and this is a sincere question. How did they do that?
Because since the trade deadline, they were the best defensive team in the league, and they were playing championship good basketball since trading for Washington at the trade deadline.
Right, because they're playing Derek Jones Jr. 40 minutes a game.
To Billy's point, defense wins championships. I mean,
but wouldn't they be better in this series? Like I'm watching this series, and I see Luka, who can't even depend on Kyrie to dribble anymore. Like, if there's one thing you know Kyrie would give you, it's dribbling or maybe free throws, and he's not even doing that. Kyrie's been a disaster.
But there's your answer, Mike.
But I'm watching
You're asking how they did it. Kyrie played a lot better than he's playing right now. P.J. Washington played a lot better than he's playing right now.
This Dallas Mavericks team right now gives off 2007 Cavs vibes. Like, that is not a good-looking basketball team.
Okay, this is 2 games, and this happens a lot in series in the first 2 games. Kyrie Irving, since stepping on the Leprechaun, is 0-12 against the Celtics. He's lost all of the games, and he was terrible in this series. And the answer to your question is, you get Luka's 30 and you get Kyrie's 30, and that's how they win games. Kyrie has been absent this series.
Are you saying the Celtics merely held serve?
That's all they did.
Yeah.
And Kyrie hasn't made a 3 in the series, and nobody but Luka did anything in yesterday's game. But let's examine something for a second, because I'm legitimately torn on what it is that I'm telling you, Stugotz. I sound like a hater saying this is unsatisfying, but the customer needs something in terms of entertainment. You need to give me a storyline. You need to give me a close game. You need to give me somebody overcoming something. It can't just be a hodgepodge of this team is well built, so I feel like I'm watching the Pistons of Ben Wallace.
We need something. The viewers need something, but the Celtics don't need anything.
Agreed. I mean, but to have a championship feel only satisfying to Boston because you can't grab on to anything else that you're watching.
Right.
Mazzulla's not improving his reputation in this series. No one is saying, wow, they're well coached, even though they play very well together. They've just perfected the way basketball is played right now. Basketball is played all along the three-point line. They defend it better than anybody, and they shoot it better than anybody, but that wasn't evidence of that yesterday. Yesterday, the Boston Celtics played one of their worst games of the season. When they played that game in the playoffs, they're like I think this season, when they played that game, they're 1-4 or something.
But Dan, when you say they've perfected how to play basketball right now, doesn't the coach get some credit for that? Some?
Do you think Mazzulla has improved his reputation with anybody who listens to these press conferences and thinks he's Looney Tunes?
I mean, he's about to have a ring on his finger
I'm asking you
as a head coach.
I'm asking you the question.
So did Mike Budenholzer.
Nick Nurse has one of those.
And I rate Nick Nurse, but it's.
I mean,
you said that they perfected it, and all my prism of a hater is like, I'd like to actually have proof that they're perfecting it against really, really good teams throughout this run. They're not being tested. And it's one thing if these teams that they're playing have a healthy superstar, if Halliburton's healthy, if Jimmy Butler is healthy, if Donovan Mitchell is healthy, I still think that they go through pretty easily. But I'm not getting these individual moments. It doesn't seem hard for the Boston Celtics. And that's a team that the mental stuff was a big block, I thought, for this Boston Celtics team. And to have the fortuitous route to not really have someone test the mental aspects of the game is kind of a bummer.
I will say again, Stugotz, I told you a couple of weeks ago that the highest seed that the Celtics will have beaten will be the Cavs in order to win the championship. Mike Ryan, because he hasn't been watching the West or playoff basketball this season, just did something to Dallas that is wholly unfair. The West was great this year, and Dallas was great, and Kyrie Irving and Luka were great in knocking off the people that they knocked off, because what they did basically, and you ask how they did it, they savaged young teams.
Yeah, no, I was on them to beat Minnesota. I said Minnesota can't guard those two offensive players.
They did the same thing to OKC, though.
Yeah, but OKC, we knew that they were younger, right? And that they have to suffer. I really wanted to see Denver in this spot. And I think, even though, as you mentioned, the path of 50-win teams, Luka has been unbelievable there. I think if you would ask any Celtics fan, if I give you the Nuggets, Timberwolves, or Mavericks, what's a team out of that group that you want to see in the NBA Finals, they would pick the Dallas Mavericks, and I don't think it'd be particularly close.
That is correct. I will just tell you that since the trading deadline, Dallas was as good as Minnesota and as good as Denver.
I understand what you're saying, LeBron. Like, you get to the finals and you got to be tested. LeBron was tested. He lost to Dallas the first year. They came back with the Heat. They won it 2 years in a row. Michael was even tested with Clyde Drexler, with Karl Malone, with Barkley. This team is really good. It's not Jayson Tatum's fault that they're not getting tested. The team is just really good, and they played lousy opponents leading into the NBA Finals.
So let me ask you this part, though, right? Because you will not give Kevin Durant any titles in your personal record book because it was too easy for him. Weirdly, the Miami Heat of LeBron James, when they came out on stage and did the parade before they started all of that, people hated that team right off the top because they're like, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's too easy. And then what happened? LeBron struggled and we're like, oh, legacy forever. I saw how hard it was. I saw him tested. I saw him overcome. I saw him taken to the brink. I asked this question sincerely because I have not decided how I can talk about this without sounding like a hater. But if it's so easy throughout history, usually what I say, when the Warriors make it look easy, I'm like, holy shit, that's one of the best teams I've ever seen. I will not say this about the Celtics, and I'm not sure I'm being fair because half of their games this season, Stugotz, they led by 20 points. Half of their games, and I don't believe I'm alone in this. As watching this as a customer, I want to be entertained. It's not simply do you win? It's do you win, and are you going to give me something to remember, some sort of greatness? Michael Jordan's going to go off for 50. It's not going to be Drew Holiday.
There's just a little something off with this Celtics team. Is that what you're saying?
No,
and they're two games from winning the title.
No, sounds like that's what you're saying.
I'm not.
What is happening?
Wait a minute. What's off with them? They've only lost twice this season. I'm not saying they're off. I'm not saying it's off. They are crushing everybody. I'm finding it unsatisfying, and I'm diminishing them in real time because I want to see close games. I want to see them really struggle. I want to see a decision made at the end of the game where Brown or Tatum have to decide, oh, what about about what Jason Kidd said, that Jaylen Brown is the best player on this team. Like, I want to watch.
You might still get it.
I may still get it, but I haven't gotten
Series hasn't started yet.
The playoffs haven't started.
Yeah. It is a bummer. We are applying real-time context that I think will be forgotten in like a year. Especially if they raise that banner, like no one's going to be like, well, the only time history's ever looked back on a champion and been like injuries was probably the Raptors.
Nope. I will say, Mike,
and the bubble.
I will say, Mike, we won't remember any of it for teams. We absolutely will for players. For teams?
That's fair.
No, you don't have to apologize for winning the championship. But you did this to Steph Curry a couple of seasons ago where you're like, I need to see it in the finals. And
then we saw it.
Yeah, but I mean, the Tatum thing isn't even fun. Like, it's not even a debate.
But
right
if he has a game or a moment and they win the championship, you're just going to look back and be like, yeah, he had a great series. No one's going to go game by game.
Yeah, you're probably right.
A moment.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Mike gave me an idea for ESPN's postgame. It should be First Take. Give me Stephen A. and Mad Dog right after the game. Are you kidding me? I'll be glued all night.
Now's the time to save 30% on wedding jewelry, only on BlueNile.com. Make sure your wedding ring is the one with your pick of diamond and lab-grown diamond bands, all hand-finished and graded for excellence. Or surprise her with something blue she'll love for life, like a stunning pair of sapphire earrings. Blue Nile's jewelry experts are available 24/7 to help. From fit questions to style advice. Right now, get up to 30% off at BlueNile.com. BlueNile.com.
Don Batard.
For 5 minutes, I was watching everyone just like, nope, not letting you in, not letting you in. So when I got up there, I had to say something, and I said it. Cheaters never prosper.
Stugotz.
My buddy was saying not today.
Yeah, but you're
not today.
Okay, so
I think that was what he was adding. Yeah, that was so much better. I'm telling you, the response I got from this guy, what I said was amazing.
He got him.
Cheaters never prosper. This guy yelled as angry as he could. I ain't cheating.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz.
let me put it another way here, Stugotz, to frame it so that you understand how different what we're watching is through only 2 games. LeBron in the finals against Dallas when he lost to Dirk, numerically, was doing what Tatum is doing, where Tatum goes 6 for 16, 6 for 22 in those finals.
Right. I mean, he had J.J. Barea on him.
Appropriate historical context there. There's only so much you can do.
Thank you.
The idea, though, that and it's 2 games, that the numbers are similar, but the teammates are carrying you around, and all you're doing is 6 for 16 and 6 for 22. LeBron did have that stinker in there where he had a 3 for 11 for 8 points. It was one of the few times you've ever seen him. That might be, has he ever gone single digits? I think he had some sort of record for double-digit games, consecutive double-digit games. Seeing LeBron go 8 points in the finals was something that we hadn't seen.
I recently got the perspective of someone that wasn't from South Florida. And history apparently remembers that NBA Finals as Dallas running away with that series. When it happened to us, and that shot from Wade goes off the back of the full court attempt goes off the back of the iron, I'm like, how did we lose? We were shadow boxing in game 2. We had a big lead in game 3. We missed free throws. The game 4 was there to be how did this happen?
All right, go ahead and put in the picture-in-picture right here on the screen. Go ahead and just put the hater box up for us so that we can have video accompaniment to what it is that we're doing in the first bit of this show, because we are now desecrating what has been a conquering champion.
Well, speak for yourself. I'm not doing anything. I'm celebrating this champion. They're a great team.
Yeah, you've been pretty consistent, which is weird because you have like these weird you have bones to pick with specific players. Like you want to see players do that, but you've decided, because you've always been a Tatum guy, that you're not going to do it, even though you've always compared him to Durant, who you never hesitate to take a shot at. So I'm a little confused at your general approach on this, but if I'm a Boston Celtics fan, I'm enjoying what I'm hearing out of this show, which is the haters literally have nothing. They're openly lamenting that they don't even have the opportunity to hate. Like Boston, credit to them. You play who's in front of you. They're mowing through this.
We're not hating, but we're not giving full credit.
Right.
No,
Somewhere in the middle.
I'm so mad that
you
I don't.
haven't impressed me.
I'm so mad that I don't get to really hate.
Do it my way.
You've broken me so much. You even went through my team.
Right.
Granted, there's no Jimmy Butler, and 22 would look good in purple and gold.
I can tell you what I'm doing here. Al Horford.
That's right.
That's what I'm doing here. I mean, I want my guy to get a ring, and he is 2 games away from hoisting the Larry O'Brien and solidifying himself as a Hall of Famer.
I don't think.
How about that?
I don't think it's just Al Horford.
Playing for everything.
I also think your hatred of Kyrie Irving is pretty strong as well.
How's he doing, by the way?
Did you see Horford? He was asked about Jason Kidd's comments on Jaylen Brown's their best player. Horford didn't add anything else other than, I know what Jason's trying to do there. And they asked Drew Holiday
that's what he
immediately after a really good performance, and Drew immediately takes it to what Jayson Tatum is doing. It seems as though, and I say what you will about how weird Mazzulla is, it seems as though they have a pretty good grasp on what makes that locker room tick, and making sure that Jayson Tatum feels appreciated for what he is giving them seems to be atop the priority list.
2-time NCAA champion, 5-time All-Star, and an NBA champion. That gets you into that Hall of Fame. I mean, it does, right? It has to.
He's one of the greatest Dominicans ever.
That Hall of Fame.
That's not saying very much.
Mm-hmm.
I do think this part is splitting hairs, I suppose. But if you do indeed consider the defensive side of the ball, Jaylen Brown's a better complete player than Jayson Tatum is. He's better defensively. But if you want to split hairs on the ego of whose team it is and who's better, I suppose Jason Kidd can throw that out there. But I enjoy Jayson Tatum's response. This isn't our first rodeo, and I want to know how that started as an expression. Like, why are we referencing the rodeo so much? I don't think of the rodeo in any other way except when somebody says, this isn't my first rodeo. Is the first rodeo for the riding of the bull? Like, why is that an expression that has caught on, and it's only the rodeo that gets the distinction of I'm a veteran here? Because Tatum's response to what Jason Kidd did, and by the way, it's hugely funny to me to watch Jason Kidd coaching in the finals when his big coaching move that I remember is spilling a soda purposely on the court one time when he didn't have any timeouts. That's what I think of when I think of the genius of Jason Kidd. To now see him just try to upset the Celtics locker room with the high school trick of Jaylen Brown is the best player that the Celtics have. Well, this the only time you need that as a coaching move is late in the game when Tatum's got the ball and he wants to be the one shooting one of those fadeaway threes to win the game.
It does give credence to what people who really follow the Celtics closely, and I say this just as someone that's in a group chat with Mike Schur, like what Jason Kidd is trying to do there is trying to make Jayson Tatum feel the pressure of, wait, you're in all the commercials, you have to be the guy. He wants Jayson Tatum to be shooting those shots to break up this incredible rhythm. So if you're like an assist guy, with Tatum, you could say he's quarterbacking the offense and setting guys up, or you can take the hater approaches, here, you score it. And I think it's probably the former rather than the latter.
A Forbes article did a search to find the origins of the expression "ain't my first rodeo," and they're saying the 1981 movie Mommy Dearest. It is Faye Dunaway says it in that movie. That's the first existence.
Chris, are you also targeted on the IG ads for the hat that says, actually, this is my first rodeo?
Yep.
A 1981 movie is
got to go back further.
It has to go back further than that. I don't know how old in general the rodeo is. It's a stupid idea.
I mean, the first time I said it was in the late 70s.
This Forbes article says, since I'm interested in the origins of the phrase, I spent some time trying to figure out where the rodeo expression came from. The earliest instance I could find, 1981 movie.
I'm actually surprised Mommy Dearest is from 1981. I thought that movie was far older.
That's a good point.
Did you guys see that Jaylen Brown, because he says he has no family and is single, that all he's doing with his spare time is watching Harry Potter? I don't know what I was doing, but that's not what I had him doing with his spare time. Did anyone have that as what it is Jaylen Brown was doing between games, just a mass-consuming Harry Potter? Can you guys get for me just a montage? I want the audience to absorb Joe Mazzulla because I think all of us are a little confused by him generally. I'm not sure that the Celtics would tell you this is all in the vein of Red Auerbach. This feels like Bill Belichick. Here's just an assortment of random press conference sound from Mazzulla.
A non-basketball question. Did you get a chance to meet with the royal family? And if not, how was it like having them there in the building?
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph?
The Prince and Princess of Wales.
Oh, no, I did not. I'm only familiar with one royal family. I don't know too much about that one. And so you end up thinking, like, you just don't know. Like, and I think, like, people don't say that enough. Like, what if we would have got the 1 seed and lost to the 8 seed? Like, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. So, like, thank you, God, for, like, protecting us from the 1 seed.
Coach, I hate to tell you, but you did lose to the 8 seed.
I meant as the 1 seed in the first round.
No.
Rightly or wrongly, Kyrie is going to be perceived as a villain in the series.
Aren't we all? In someone's eyes.
Pardon me?
We're all villains in someone's eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm seeing the same thing I saw last year. I'm seeing the same thing I saw when I first coached him in summer league. People, a white shooter that most people think he can't play defense. So yeah, I said it.
Brown puts an exclamation point on it.
Do you guys think that his reputation has been improved?
Yeah.
He was going to be fired. Like, we thought he was going to be fired when they lost to the Miami Heat last year.
Yeah, all this stuff becomes myth. And then he becomes like an eccentric genius. He was asked a question yesterday about Drew Holiday, and then he rattled off kind of like Rain Man-esque, like a sequence of events that happened. It was just an incredible attention to detail. Yeah, we'll mythologize this after he wins a title.
Right. Imagine he says all the same things, but now he has a ring on his finger. I mean, right.
Yeah, but I didn't see what that was as anything other than gibberish. All he said is 26 points in the first quarter, 25 points in all the other quarters. We had a foul up at the end of a 2-1 situation at the end of the first quarter, and we ended up, fouling Washington.
But that's what Mike is saying. Mike is saying now it's gibberish, but after he wins this round, we'll look back, it's genius.
Yeah,
right.
crazy. He becomes like Mike Leach with a championship glow around him. I got to be honest with the audience and the people tuning in from Boston. Like, this would actually be harmful to my mental health were not for the Panthers' distraction. The only possible way I can actually cope with the Boston Celtics winning a title is if immediately I get to chase it with a Stanley Cup.
We're going to get to the Panthers stuff in a second, but Stugotz, your general appraisal of everything that we're watching, you don't find it unsatisfying? You don't find it unsatisfying to not see the Celtics tested by anybody, having them taken to 6 games, having some pressure put on somebody? Like, you love pressure. You love the...
I know.
I don't know what you're doing where Kevin...
Al Horford, I told you.
Yeah, but that's it.
I love him more than I love pressure. I mean, I do. Yeah. The guy's always been good to this show. He loves you. I've had conversations with him. Al's just a good guy. He is. He's been on twice. I mean,
for a dude that is, his entire career is just littered with inconsistencies. He's been true on the Al Horford front.
Thank you. I mean,
that is true. I don't think Al had very much to do with what it is that happened last night.
What?
I don't think Al.
He's been good to Dan.
It's like saying UD had nothing to do with the success of the
Right.
Heat.
I mean,
you have
what
that
are you
person
talking
there.
about? Yes.
You ingrain the culture into the team. You get everybody buying in.
Right.
Sometimes people's contributions aren't that they don't show up in the box score.
That's
you know what
right.
I mean?
Dan, you got to watch the game. I'm not saying you didn't watch the game, but you got to watch the game. Countless screens. I mean, just hustle plays, diving out of bounds. I mean, the guy's great. Give him some credits. I mean, Porzingis is out now. Phil's in. They don't miss a beat.
Yeah, he got hurt, right? Porzingis?
Yeah, late in the game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, damn. If Porzingis is hurt, we might have a series again.
You can just say that on any given night and have a chance of being right with Porzingis.
He really matters to them, though.
Yeah. No, you've been bang on about the Celtics. My feeble argument back is, well, Halliburton's hurt. I feel like a loser. This sucks.
The Pacers,
this is not great.
The Pacers had 3 games in the series against the Celtics with a 90% win probability when Porzingis was out. If he's actually hurt, Dallas can do something. And please, somebody test these Celtics. Somebody
do something.
Backstreet's back. All right. Since the dawn of mankind, we've cooked our food over an open flame and debated the best way to grill. One thing not up for debate, grilling and beer always go together. But not just any beer will do. Whether you barbecue, Texas style, or just celebrate Wednesday with burgers and dogs, I love Miller Lite. Every single time my team plays on television, I am sitting behind that television screen with a Miller Lite or 3. Miller Lite keeps it simple. Undebatable quality, taste as great as your barbecue. It's the beer that strips away everything you don't need and holds on to what matters the most. With the Miller Lite in hand, grilling doesn't just taste great, it tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan. Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Woo!
At the Coca-Cola Company, Keurig Dr. Pepper, and PepsiCo, our bottles might still look the same, but some of them can be remade in a whole new way, using 100% recycled plastic. New bottles made using no new plastic except the caps and labels. You'll be seeing more of these new bottles in more places, and that's thanks to you, because when we get more bottles back, we can use less new plastic. Learn how our bottles are made to be remade at madetoberemade.org.